Okay, here we go. Says the Mishnah. Misha Mahareini Nazir. And he says, Ani. And then Levi, the third man, says, Vani. Kulam Nazirim, they're all Nazirim. Hutter, Hishain, Hutter, Kula. Because everything is being tied back to the first guy, right? By definition, if the first one pulls the plug, he's matin there. Memela, they're all hit there because it's all tied to the first guy. Hutter Achrin. If the last guy Levi does it, he's matin there. Ha'achrin mutter v'kulan isurin. He Levi is matin, is free from Nazirus, but the other guys are still bound by Nazirus, right? Because Levi is Tully in them, but they're not Tully in Levi. Oma Rainy Nazir, the Shama Chavei Oma Ti Kipid, the Sari Kisarai. My mouth is like his mouth, my ear is like his mouth. Hareza Nazir's a Nazir. And the pastors were saying this is another lotion of the Nazirus. Weiter. Hareini Nazir, the Shama Ishtoi Ba'oma Ba'ani. And his wife hears and says, and I. So she becomes a Nazir, Nazirah, attached to his Nazirus. Made for Shalom and Shalakayim. He can be made for, a husband is allowed to be made for the vows of his wife.
Can hear you. I can't hear you.
Daddy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel called in. That's all. Just hang on 1 second. Okay. Here we go again. So, let's get himself lined up.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Dr. Mr. Weiter. Hareini Nazir B'Shama Ishta B'Omrani. And the wife hears and says, and I. So the wife becomes a Nazira Machmas, her Baal, her husband. Maybe Shalom Shaloi Kayim. He could be made for hers, but his still stays. Because the husband has the right to be made for it, and because she is tied to him, but he's not tied to her. So Mamela, he could be made for hers, and his is still Kayim. However, the other way, her rating is 0. I am a Nazir. She says, I am a Nazirah. The Shama Baal of Amavani, and the husband hears and says, and I, and me, Eina Yachal. He cannot revoke the vow. Why not? Because it says, La Yachel Devoroi. You cannot be made, you cannot profane the word, but somebody else can overturn it. In this case, if he revokes his wife's Nazirus, Memele, his Nazirus is buckled because his Nazirus is tied to hers. No, you got a problem. Because then, in essence, what is he doing? He's annulling his Nazirus that he's not allowed to do. And the next case in the Mishnah is the same thing. Hareini Nazir Ba'at. The man says, I'm a Nazir. What about you? Ba'amra Amen. And she says, Amen. Mayfeh Shalom Shalakayim. He can revoke her vow and his stays because hers is totally in him, but his is not totally in her. If a woman says, I am in the zero, and what about you? So that his Nazirus is tied to her Nazirus. He cannot be made for. Good, for the same reason. Because if he's made for hers, he's made for his own. And somebody else can be made for yours. Something Gemara. Yosef Reish Lakish v'kamei de Rabbi Yehuda Nesir v'Yosef v'Kama. This thing where the guy says already Nazir, and the next one says Ani, and the next one says Vani, is all Taich Kedei Dibor. The common Taich Kedei Dibor, Kedei Shela Shalom, and Nazir can say hello. The common Kedei Shela Shalom, Kedei Shiyom Shalom Talmud L'Rav, that a student can say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe. In other words, about 2 seconds.
Yeah, 3 words.
Not Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda Nasiya, Ba'amalei, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said to Reish Lakish, Tuvloi, Shafta Rav Talmuda. You're not giving any leeway to a student, to a Talmud. The Talmud wants to say Ba'ani, but his Rebbe is there. So first he has a chiyuv to say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, and then he can say Ba'ani. So it has to be a little longer than Taich Kedei Dibur. Today's daf. Chaf Aleph Amid Aleph. Something Gemara Tananami Hachi. We learned in a Baraisa Misha Ma'areini Nazir. If somebody says I'm a Nazir, B'Shama Chaberoi, B'Shasa Kedei Dibor, and Shimon hears it, and he's quiet as long as Taich Kedei Dibor. Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, Ba'amavani, and then he says, and I, who also the Chaberoi Mota. The first one, Reuven has a Naziris, but Shimon does not have a Naziris. The common Kedei Dibor, Kedei Shishal Shalom Talmud L'Rav. So you see that it has to be the Ani has to be Taich Kedei Dibor. Daddy, hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Sorry, the car is getting hot. So I'm what do you call it? Give me a second. Right. Here we go. Okay. In short, here we go. Hold on. Okay. So from here, we have a raya to Reish Lakish that it's everything has to be Taich Kedei Dibur. So to Gemara, Lema Messiah law, maybe in fact we could bring a raya to Reish Lakish. The Mishnah says, Misha Ma'areini Nazir, V'Shama Chaveri V'Amavani, Vani Pesula. It only brings Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Reuven says, I'm a Nazir. Shimon says, Vani. Levi says, Vani. And the Mishnah Gaitnish Vaita. So you see, it's all Taich Kedei Dibur. Straight to Gemara. Tanaki Rachel Chashav Nazel. Should the Mishnah be like a peddler trying to peddle its wares? In other words, how many Vani's cases should it bring down? Daddy, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Gemara, the Lacy Chad V'Lishmihari. The Gemara says, you're right. But then it should have just brought one case of Vani. And we would have learned it out further. So Dr. Gemara Hachanami, you're right. We didn't need 2 cases of Vani. We really only needed 1 case of Vani. And it's only because of editing that we brought 2. V'amishum diktani seifa. Ha'huta rishain huta kula. Huta achrain or akram. Huta the kula is surin. Because the achrain is not tied. The first guys are not tied to the last guy. Mechla'al the it means there's a middle party. Shamachi katani vani vani. To let us know that there's a middle party. That's all. Good. Weiter. If a people, I and I, does each one refer to the immediate predecessor, or till will become a mitzvah refers on to the first? In other words, Reuven says already knows it. Shimon says Vani. Levi says Vani. Yehuda says Vani. Yisachar says Vani. Does all of them refer back to Reuven, the first guy? Or no, each one is a link. It's linked together. Reuven, Shimon to Reuven, Levi to Shimon, Yehuda to Levi.
Right.
L'may nafkamina, what's the nafkamina? Le'af, pusei umezo. In other words, whether it continuously links. If you say that each one refers to its immediate predecessor. Shimon to Ruvain, Levi to Shimon, Yehuda to Levi. It keeps linking forever. You can keep linking. But if you said that everybody's referring back to the Harani Nazir of Ruvain, it's referring right back to the Harani Nazir of Ruvain. We're now on 21A2. 21A2. Mitzi Mikadei Dibo Loy Matvis. Then those who responded after the Salam Alechem Rebbe, Kedei Dibor, after the Kedei Dibor, do not have a linkage and therefore are not Nazirin. So what is the case? Does it all link back to the first and therefore only the first few guys are Nazirin but afterwards are not? Or no, is it all linked to the immediate predecessor? So everybody is Kedei Dibor to the one right before him. Dr. Gemara Tashma Hareini Nazir Bishama Chaveri V'Amabani. And Ruvain says already Nazir, Shimon says Vani, and Levi says Vani, V'Sulamidi, and we have only two responses and no more. Shmami no B'Kamo Dimov, that everybody's referring back to Ruvain's Hareini Nazir. That everybody's merely linking back to the immediate the immediate person right before him. So Shimon to Ruvain, Levi to Shimon, Yehuda to Levi, Yisachar to Yehuda, Leisa to Rabani. The Mishnah should mention many more anis. Something Gemara, the same Gemara there before. Tana Kirachel Losher B'Lezel. Is the Tana a peddler that he keeps on peddling the anis? Something Gemara, the Slichat, just say one ani. And I'll know exactly what it means. You're right. It's a matter of editing. Hi, you Tani. Since the Mishnah says later, Huta Rishon Huta Kula, Huta Hakron Hakron Huta Bekula Nesurin, Lechalde Kem Tzayim Mishum. Hachi Ketani Bani Bani. No, so we don't have a Clarkite. Does it mean that everybody's referring back to Ruvain and only the first few guys are B'Tayk Kedei Dibor, or it's referring each one to the immediate predecessor, and therefore the linkage could keep going on because everybody's B'Tayk Kedei Dibor to the immediate person before it. Zakti Gemara Tashma Huta Rishon Huta Kula, right? Rishon Huta Sharu. It means when the first person is released from his neder, everybody's released. But if the middle releases, it has no effect on anybody else. It means everybody's referring back to Ruvain, the Harani Nazir, the first guy. No right. Everybody's referring to the immediate predecessor. But since the Sefer has to say they are all released, the Mishnah was talking about the middle. Ikarishin Delay mystery. There would be the first person who's not released. Ruvain is not released because his Harani Nazir is not tied to anybody that comes after him. That's why it says Rishon. And that's it. In which case, all the other vowels are avoided because everybody is tied to the original linkage to Ruvain. Shimon to Ruvain, Levi to Shimon, the Yehuda to Levi, and Yisachar to Yehuda. Very good. Daddy, so far so good?
Yeah.
Good. Tashma, Huta Hakron. If the last one is Mataneda, or Hakron, Huta the Kulan, Esurin. Only the last one is Matid, and the other ones have in his Yunus Vaita. Meaning, the Lo Yikach China Basrei. After, in other words, there's nobody else. But a guy in the middle who has somebody after him that could be released, no, mystery, it would be released. You see that everybody's linking to the one right before him. In other words, Ruvain is by himself. Shimon links to Ruvain. Levi links to Shimon. Yehuda links to Levi. So if Shimon is Mataneda, then Levi, who's linked to him, he's also Mata, and therefore Yehuda is also Mata because he's linked to Levi. So it's not linked to the first person. Each one is linked to the one right before. Everybody is linked to Reuven. And what does the Mishnah mean when it says Achron? It really means Emtsoy. It just means Shimon. Because it says first, so it says last. Because that's the way people talk. Ani Rishon, Vani Achron, Umivaladai, Ein Elokim. So that's the way we talk, right? I am first, I am last. There you go. So, Toshma, the Tani Bahade, we have a straight out Baraisa. Huta Rishon, Huta Kulon. If the first one, Reuven says, I'm a Nazir, and he's Mataneda, he releases everybody from theirs. Huta Achron, Ha'achron Muta Bekulan Asurin. Huta Emtsoi, and if you're Huta in the middle, this Baraisa brings down the middle, Shimon, we're now on 21A3, Heminu 21A3, Heminu Lamata Mutter. Anybody who said Bani after him is freed from the Nazirus. Heminu Lamala also. Anybody who said an I before him remains in Nazirus. Shmamino Chad V'Chav that everybody is linked to their immediate predecessor. The ones before are not linked to him. The ones below him are linked to him, ultimately. So therefore, it's Chavra, the Chavra Islay. Everybody is linked not to the original Iranian Nazir, but to the Vani right before him. And therefore, everybody's tied to the Tibor, and the string, the linkage, could keep going and going and going and going. Zakti Gemara Vaita. The Mishnah said, Hareni Nazir, Vishama Chabere Ba'oma, Pi, Bisari, Kisari, my mouth is like a mouth, and my ear is like the hair. He also becomes a Nazir. Freiti Gemara, Mishum Da'oman, Pi, Bisari, Bisari. My mouth is like his mouth, my ear is like his hair. Harei Nazir? Better a Nazir? We're now on Omid Beis. Chop Aleph Omid Beis. 21B1. We have a Baraisa. Yodi Nazira. My hand is Nazir, my leg is a Nazir. Lo Yoma Klub. Roishi Nazira. Kivedi Nazira. My head is a Nazir, my liver is a Nazir. Harez a Nazir. Becomes a Nazir. Why? Zerklau. Here's the rule. Anything in which life, with the soul, as it were, life depends, right? Without a head, a chicken without a head is not alive. A chicken without its liver can leben. But you can live without a leg or a foot. Right. So the same thing with here, you can live without here. Proof positive. And I'm living, Baruch Hashem. Right? And a mouth, what kind of thing is that? So, Dr. Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, Damach, Yasepiv Kipiv Miyayin. Sorry, Bisarai Milogoi. My mouth should be like his mouth with regard to Yayin. My ear, like his ear with regard to cutting. In other words, it's referring in essence back to Nazirah. Good. Something about Mishnah Vaita. Hareni Nazira. The woman says, I'm a Nazira. Bishama Balabama Bani, and I, Ada Yachalahafe, because by revoking hers, he automatically revokes his. And it says, Well, Yachal Tabari, hi Jeff, how are you?
Hello, yes, sir. Hello,
Hi, we're holding on 21B1.
I got it.
You got it? Very good.
I'm with you.
Hareni Nazir. Bishama Balabama Bani. And her husband said, he cannot revoke his vow. Why? Because the Torah says, "Lo yachel debara," you shall not profane your words. You shall not. But you can have a rabbi profane it. But here, since he linked his acceptance of Nazirus to her Nazirus. If he revokes hers, he's automatically revoking his own, and he's not allowed to do that. So therefore, the linkage is not there. He cannot revoke. Freik the Gemara, I got a question. Baal Meikaroker. When we say that he revokes his wife's vow, does that mean he revokes it retroactively? In other words, he annuls it so that her vow never was. Until Manegas guys, or no, are you saying that in fact, it's going forward? Whatever was, she was a Nazira until the moment that what? Until the moment that he revoked it. From that moment on, she's no longer in Nazira. Lamai Nafkamina, what's the difference? The Isis and Nazir to Nazir, a woman who took a vow of Naziris, the Shama Chavata, and her friend hears, Rabani and I, the Shama Bala, and then the husband of the first woman, Shel Rishona, hears about it for Hafala, and he revokes. If you say here's revocation, annuls her vow, annuls her Naziros. So by definition, her Naziros never was. In that case, then the second woman is automatically released from her vow because she tied her vow to the first woman, and the first woman no longer ever had a Naziros because the husband annulled it. So then she's no longer a Nazir. But if you say that the husband merely revoked it from now on, but what was, he is starting, then she is revoked, but Chaverta Isura, her friend remains in her vow of Nazirus, because that's what she accepted. What's the deal? Tashma, come here, and here we go. Harain Nazira, first it says, I am a Nazir. And her husband hears and says, and I, he cannot revoke. Why? Because by revoking hers, he's revoking his. And you shall not profane your words. Only somebody else could take care of your vow. But you can't take care of your vow. And if by revoking your wives, you're automatically getting rid of your own, you're taking care of your own vow. Up to Gemara. The foul makers guy is if it should enter your mind that a husband is when he revokes, is only revoking it mikan la'ava from this point onward. Then let him revoke his wife's, but his will remain. Because he said Bani and I will accept the zeros. So now he linked his Naziris to her. He now revokes her Naziris moving forward, but his Naziris still stays. So what's the problem? Here we have a pretty clear proof that no, when a husband goes ahead and revokes a wife's Nazirus, what is he doing? He's actually annulling it. He's getting rid of it. It never was. So by annulling her vow, he's annulling his own vow, and that's illegal. That's why he cannot annul it. So it's proof that when a husband revokes the vow of a wife, he's in fact annulling it. So to Gemara guys, we could say that he means to just simply revoke it from this point on. And therefore, strictly speaking, he could revoke it, and his own Nazirus would stay. So what's the reason that he cannot be made for it? And I command the Oma Kayim Lechi Dummy. It's as if he's saying, by the way, I am certifying your vow. I'm saying your vow can stay.
Right.
Once he says your vow can stay, the husband loses the power to later on revoke that same neder, that same nazirus. Once the husband upholds the vow of nazirus in this case, he what do you call it? He loses his power to later revoke it. There's no Indian giving. So the only thing he can do
Go
is
to a proper.
mishtil. He can go and appeal his confirmation by Rabbi Gibber. He can go and appeal his confirmation by a sage, Motzi Mayford. Then, if he repeals his confirmation of her vow, now the confirmation falls away. He can then revoke her vow. But if he does not go to appeal his confirmation, then he no longer has the power as a husband to now revoke a vow which he confirmed. That's what we're talking about over here. Okay, anybody have any questions? Daddy, Jeff, everybody's got it?
Everything is fine, yeah.
Everybody's got it? Jeff, you're okay?
Okay.
Got it? Okay, so now we go further. Toshma, the Mishnah goes further. The history says, a woman who makes a vow of Nazirus and sets aside her chatos for the end of her Nazirus, her sin offering for the end of her Nazirus. We're now on 21b2. Okay, 21b2. And then her husband comes and revokes her vow. What becomes of the sacrifice of the behemoths? If the animal was his and she's just using his animals, which she's allowed to, takes it to they go back to grazing the flock, they become non-sacred anymore. But if the animals belong to her, chatos tomos, the chatos is left to die, because the rule is as follows: a chatos, a sin offering that's offered for somebody who did an aveira, and that somebody subsequently dies. So the chatos can no longer be brought. The sin offering can no longer be brought. The answer is that animal is stuck in no man's land. It's then sent out to graze until it dies. That's it. That's the answer. So, if you say that a husband, when he revokes a wife's vow, right, he revokes it completely, meaning he revokes it that it was annulled. It never existed. So the vow never existed. So the Nazirus never existed. Retroactively, it's never there. Which means that when she set aside the animal as a chatas, as a sin offering, right, it was a mistake. It never was. It never was. Why wasn't it? Because a chatas offering is only for a Nazira.
Right.
Right? She never was a Nazira. So
Right.
now it's chulin. It's chulin ba'azara. You can't bring an animal that you don't need to bring into the Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
So if that would be the case, tape it l'chulin. Then the chatas offering of the wife needs to go back into a non-sacred state. But the fact is, it doesn't. It needs to graze until it dies, like a chatas whose owner passed away. Elulav shmamino ba'al mekas gayis. From here you have proof that therefore it does not annul when a husband revokes. It's not an annulment. It's merely a revocation mikad rabba from this point on. But until now, it existed. Okay? Dr. Gemara. So the bottom line is we don't really have proof, because this, you could say the first way, you could say the second way. So Dr. Gemara, Tashma, Nazir, a woman who makes a vow of Nazirus, and then deliberately drinks wine or contracts tumah from the dead. Okay, I raise this. I take it up on. She gets malchus She gets the 39 lashes, 40 minus 1. Hey, dummy, what's the case? The husband had not revoked it. Well, if the husband doesn't revoke it, everybody, then she's a full-fledged Nazira. You have to tell me she gets Malchus. She obviously gets lashes for having deliberately broken her Nazir's vow. Ela Pshita, the hateful vow. It's clear that the husband did revoke the vow. The vow maker occur, but if it should enter your mind that the husband uproots his wife's vows altogether, so that when he revokes it, he annuls it, so that retroactively there was no Nazirus. But if there was no Nazirus, then she's perfectly capable of drinking wine and becoming contaminated to the dead.
Yeah.
And then, my son,
No, Balmaker's
why does she get lashes? No, Balmaker's guys. Elamai, it's proof that in fact when he revokes, he only revokes going forward, from now and moving forward. But what happened previously existed. So she was a Nazira. So she should get Malchus. That's proof that Maker's guy is that when a husband revokes, he revokes going forward. Something about no, no, when a husband revokes, he revokes retroactive inside. There is no, he knows it completely and it never was a Nazirus. So in that case, why does she get Malchus? Mishum Diktani Sefer, because the last part of the Mishnah said, Hey for Lobala, if her husband revokes her vow, Vihi lo yoda, and she does not know that he revoked it. And then she intentionally drinks wine or contracts tumah from the dead. She does not get the 40 lashes, 39, 40 minus 1, the 39 lashes. She thought that she was a Nazira, and she deliberately drank wine and was contaminated to the dead. It doesn't matter, because the fact is her husband revoked. And if her husband revoked, it's gone. And now that she did it, it doesn't matter. The fact that she didn't know doesn't change that fact. So the fact is, maybe it can mean that it revokes, it's annulled completely. But because we wanted to bring this second half to say that she does not get Malchus, does not get Malchus.
It says in the
reputation. So we bring the first part, so that the Mishnah is balanced. It's merely an editing situation, not a reality, and that's it. So we still don't know. We still don't know whether. Whether when a husband revokes, does he revoke going from this point on, or it means annulled going backwards. Very good, everybody. We got to tomorrow's Daf Chavez.